Call centers are going luxury, and Gucci is leading the way. Ah, the millennial. They are changing everything, and one of them is call centers. Gucci is opening 6 new call centers around the world, including one that they recently just announced in New York. They're calling them Gucci 9, and the New York call center is actually, I think, in New Jersey, so it makes me wonder about the other locations, whether they're really in those locations or just nearby, because it doesn't really matter, it's a call center. But what makes these call centers different? Gucci is really trying to create luxury call centers. When you picture a call center, you picture a lot of people in bad lighting with tiled ceilings sitting there just talking on the phone. When you call into a call center, you get somebody, sometimes they might say their first name, you don't know if it's the real name. If you ever tried to reach them again, you would have no chance of doing it. And Gucci's trying to replace all that. What I can tell from what they're saying is they're really trying to give you the SA experience, the sales associate's experience in a call center. And this does seem to make sense to me. There are a lot of people saying, oh, it's a glorified call center. I think this represents a major difference in the way retail is moving, and I think it is a smart move for Gucci to do. They're certainly putting a lot of money into it. These call centers are 25 to 35,000 square feet each. They're like showrooms on the inside where they have Gucci merchandise. The people are comfortable who are calling you. I really think that this is the way of the future. I think it is a brilliant move, and I would love to talk to you about it and then see what you think about it. A lot of times people have complained about millennials, and usually I will say it's usually baby boomers complaining about millennials. Just as an aside, I am neither a millennial nor a baby boomer, and it's funny to me because my generation, we were sort of called latchkey kids, or we're called Generation X. Like, they didn't even bother naming us. We're a small generation, and we were just sort of there. The baby boomers were so big that everything marketing-wise was always geared toward them. And then along come the millennials, and they're another huge generation. The millennials and the baby boomers kind of struggle because the baby boomers are used to having everything center around them, and suddenly now it's the millennials that things are centering around. And my generation just sort of sits in the middle looking at both. Nobody asked us what we wanted. We are the middle child. So that aside, one of the things that people always said about millennials is they didn't shop, they didn't buy things. And that's not really true. They do. They just do it differently. And millennials are aging now. They're getting older. A lot of them are well into their 30s. They're getting more money, and they do in fact love luxury. They just want to purchase it differently, and they want to interact with people differently. And that is what Gucci is attempting to address in these call centers. When you think about call centers in the past, they were these places that you call in and you get an operator. They may or may not know much about what you're talking about. They might not be able to ask any questions. They tell you something that may or may not be true, and you try to call them back and you could never talk to them. It's just a very impersonal thing. You just get who you get. A lot of us have developed relationships with sales assistants, with SAs. Oftentimes that's in person. But for me, for example, I don't live in a major metropolitan area. In order for me to develop a relationship with an SA, I usually traveled and then met them, took their card, and I've continued to call them and communicate, and they'll find things for me, that type of thing. What Gucci's trying to do is make that all happen in a call center. It's a very different approach to the call center. First of all, Gucci's putting a lot of money into these. They'll be located in Florence, Shanghai, New York, Tokyo, Seoul, and Singapore. They're each about 25 to 35,000 square feet with about 150 operators. I'm not sure what Gucci is calling them, so I'll call them SAs or virtual SAs. But they're in a showroom. It's basically a showroom. They have access to all of Gucci's latest things, so when you call and you ask them questions, they're right there. They can take pictures. They're encouraged to communicate with you in any way that you want to communicate. You can talk to them by phone, by email, they'll text you. They are encouraged to develop a relationship with you. They'll even follow you on Instagram and get to know your likes and dislikes just like an SA would. They are trying to develop this relationship with you. It is a long-term play. Most call centers, their goals are to just make sales, make as many sales as they can, and they need to get off the phone in a certain amount of time. This is not that. This is a long-term play where Gucci is trying to develop a long-term relationship with people. There's no limit to the amount of time that you can talk to one of these people, and they're not pushed to sell to you. What their goal is to give you the information that you seek. And when you think about this is a whole lot less expensive than having a store. Having a showroom with 150 people speaking 8 different languages that can canvas a much broader area geographically and give you the information you need is a much more efficient way than trying to put stores all throughout. This doesn't mean that a store will go away. Most people do want to touch and feel a brand, but once you have done that, once you've interacted with the brand, it's a lot easier then to look at pictures and talk to somebody and understand what it is you will be getting. Of course, you can return it too, and you'll have a relationship with somebody to do that. When I think of Gucci, I think of handbags and leather goods, but they sell t-shirts, tennis shoes, all kinds of things. So they are selling a number of different items. What Gucci is calling this is the remote client experience. I will say that I think this is an excellent idea, and I hope it is the wave of the future. When I call into Louis Vuitton, for example, if I call their 800 number, I've been helped, but it's really hit or miss, and sometimes if I don't get the answer I want, I hang up and call back again, talk to somebody else, and they give me the answer I want. Usually it's because I'm looking for an item, and you never know if the person really tried or if they really cared, but sometimes I'll hang up the phone and call back, and suddenly somebody was able to find an item. That's not a good thing. That doesn't make me feel good about the brand. What I have personally is an essay for Louis Vuitton within a Neiman Marcus store, and I've developed a relationship with her, and I really like that approach. And I do think it is smart for Gucci to focus its efforts on that type of relationship, because of course she's also working in the store and dealing with all of that, and then she has a lot of customers that she's dealing with. But this, I do think, is the way of the future. As a fine jewelry designer myself, and I'm planning to open my flagship store this year, I'm looking at this, of course I'm nowhere near that scale, but I'm looking at this concept and thinking, how can I do a similar thing? Because I'll have my flagship store, but how can I make sure that we are continuing to foster a relationship with anybody who has come into the store? Because people may just be visiting and come into the store, and how can I make sure that I carry that relationship on and make sure that when they call, they're not getting just a random person, that they feel like they have a relationship with somebody, maybe me or maybe somebody else. I do think that's an important aspect of a brand relationship. And for me, it's very aspirational. It's a nice model to look at and to attempt to follow in my own small way. I'm curious to hear what you think about this. What do you think about Gucci's idea of an elevated remote client experience? What brands have you called in to talk to, and what was your experience with that? What did they do well, and what could they improve on? I'd be very curious to know. I am fine jewelry designer Jill Maurer, and I love taking the mystique and the intimidation out of buying and wearing jewelry. I also talk about luxury and design of all types, including call centers. If that is of interest to you, please do subscribe. I would love to see you here again. Until next time.